Welcome to Crossdressing Stories. Here, we share personal stories, celebrate self-expression. If you're on your own journey or simply curious, you've found your community. Subscribe and join the conversation.
Most people's lives are built on solid ground. Mine, I later realized, was built over a hidden room, a place filled with secrets I only visited when I was alone. I never imagined the floor would give way, or that my own mother would be the one to hand me a key instead of a lifeline. That summer, the secret I had guarded for a decade didn't just escape. It walked out the front door in a sundress and a honey blonde wig, and the world, whether it was ready or not, was about to meet her. My name is Leo. I'm 18, freshly graduated, and my defining characteristic has always been my ability to blend into the wallpaper. If you'd asked my high school classmates, they'd describe me as that quiet, lanky kid who was good with computers and kept to himself. Average. Invisible. I had no interest in sports, parties, or the usual rites of teenage masculinity. My world was one of circuit boards, old film cameras I liked to restore, and the silent company of my own thoughts. But beneath that beige-colored shell, there was a secret. A hidden room inside me I only visited when I was completely alone. I never called it cross-dressing. The term felt clinical, like a diagnosis. For me, it was a quiet exploration. Since I was 13, I'd sneak into my mom's closet, drawn by the textures and scents. A silk blouse against my skin, the precarious balance of a pair of heels. It began as curiosity, blossomed into fascination, and was always followed by a tidal wave of guilt. I'd tried to bury it, convincing myself it was a phase. I even confessed it once to my girlfriend, Chloe, framing it as a joke. Can you imagine? I'd laughed, me in a dress? She'd giggled, a sweet, unsuspecting sound. That's hilarious, Leo. You're the least frilly person I know. Her words, meant to be affectionate, felt like a cage. She couldn't see it. Maybe no one could. This summer, I was staying with my mom, Helen, in her charming townhouse. My dad left when I was 10, leaving a void I felt pressured to fill with a stoic, masculine presence I could never quite muster. Mom was my anchor, warm, artistic, and fiercely independent. She ran an online vintage boutique from home, a business that filled our house with the scent of old leather, lavender sachets, and the elegant, gossiping presence of her friends. Women like Cassandra, Beatrice, and Simone, divorcees and power suit professionals who moved through the world with an effortless, intimidating femininity. The day everything changed was a sweltering Thursday in July. Mom had a last-minute appointment with a consignment client and left in a flurry of apologies and jangling keys. I was in my room, trying to fix the shutter on an old Leica, when I saw it, her closet door, left ajar. A sliver of floral fabric beckoned me. It was a sundress I'd never seen before, hanging in a place of honor. A delicate thing of pale blue, dotted with tiny yellow flowers. The fabric was light as a whisper. My hands moved before my brain could object. The rough denim of my jeans fell to the floor, my t-shirt followed, and then I was stepping into it. The dress settled over my narrow frame, a little loose at the waist, but surprisingly right. I turned to the full-length mirror. And I was gone. The boy was gone. In his place was a stranger, softer and more graceful. The way the dress cinched my waist and swayed when I moved felt like breathing after holding my breath for a decade. But the illusion was shattered by my face, my sharp jaw, my unkempt hair. The guilt started to creep back in, cold and familiar. Driven by a new, urgent purpose, I pulled out a box from under my bed. A secret stash of thrifted wigs and makeup kits Chloe had once gifted me as a gag. My hands, usually so steady with tiny screws and wires, trembled as I applied foundation. It was clumsy, uneven, but it blurred the edges of the boy in the mirror. A touch of mascara, a smudge of lip gloss. When I slipped the honey blonde wig over my head, long waves tumbling past my shoulders, I gasped. I looked like a girl. I looked like me. The rush was euphoric. I twirled, the blue dress floating around me, a genuine smile blooming on my face for the first time in what felt like years. Then the doorbell rang. Panic, cold and sharp, seized me. Mom wasn't due back. A package? A neighbor? My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Honey, total brain fog today. My girls are stopping by for an early brunch. Just let them in, I'll be back in an hour. Love you. My stomach plummeted. Cassandra. Beatrice. Simone. They were here. And I was standing in my mom's dress, wearing a full face of makeup and a wig. I scrambled for the zipper, but it was too late. The bell rang again, followed by a peal of laughter. I tiptoed to the living room window, peeking through the blinds. 3 impeccably dressed women stood on the porch, holding lattes and gift bags. My heart hammered against my ribs. I couldn't let them see me. I had to hide. But as I backed away from the door, I stumbled over the leg of a side table. A small porcelain vase teetered and crashed to the floor. The chatter outside stopped. Did you hear that? It was Cassandra's voice, sharp and alert. Helen? Is everything okay in there? Before I could think, the front door handle turned. Mom must have forgotten to lock it. The door swung open. 3 pairs of eyes, shielded by designer sunglasses, landed on me. I was frozen in the entryway, a deer in the headlights of their collective gaze. The silence stretched for an eternity. Beatrice was the first to speak, her voice a soft, surprised murmur. Oh my. Helen didn't tell us she had company. Then Cassandra's sunglasses slid down her nose, her eyes sweeping over me from the wig to the flats. A slow, calculating smile spread across her face. Well, Helen has been holding out on us, she said, her voice dripping with insinuation. Who is this lovely young thing? My mouth was dry. My mind was blank. Just as I was about to babble an incoherent apology, a car door slammed outside. It was Mom. She walked in, took in the scene in a single, sweeping glance, her friends in the doorway, the shattered vase on the floor, and me, her son, dressed as a girl. Our eyes met. I braced for anger, for confusion, for shame. Instead, I saw something else entirely. A flicker of understanding, a flash of fierce protectiveness. She moved smoothly to my side, wrapping an arm around my waist, her touch both a shield and an anchor. Girls, she said, her voice impossibly calm. Forgive the mess. I'd like you to meet someone very special. She paused, squeezing my waist gently. This is Luna. Isn't she lovely? My heart didn't just stop, it felt like it shattered into a million pieces. Luna. A name I had only ever whispered to myself in the dark. How could she know? She couldn't. It was a guess, a random choice in a moment of crisis. But in her voice, it sounded real. It sounded right. And as her friend's curious smiles widened, a terrifying, exhilarating part of me wanted to believe it, too. Cassandra's smile didn't reach her eyes. Luna, she repeated, tasting the name. How unexpected. You never mentioned a daughter, Helen. She's very private, Mom said, her grip on my waist unwavering. Come in, girls. Let's not stand in the doorway. The brunch was a masterclass in surrealism. I sat perched on the arm of the sofa, nursing a mimosa I couldn't drink, my posture unnaturally prim. I answered their questions in a breathy whisper, trying to pitch my voice higher. They talked about yoga retreats and terrible online dates, occasionally directing a question at me. So, Luna, what are your plans now that you're out of school? Beatrice asked kindly. Before I could answer, Mom jumped in. Luna is an artist. Incredibly gifted. She's going to help me with the creative side of the boutique this summer. She created an entire life for this girl, this Luna, with every sentence. When they finally left, leaving trails of expensive perfume and faint curiosity in their wake, I collapsed onto the couch, the adrenaline leaving me weak. I ripped the wig off, my own messy brown hair a stark reminder of the boy underneath. What was that? I finally managed to whisper. Mom sat beside me, her expression soft, not angry. I saw your face when I walked in, Leo, she said gently. You were terrified. But for a second, before you saw me, you were glowing. I haven't seen you look that happy in years. Tears I hadn't realized I was holding back began to fall. I don't know who I am, I sobbed, the words wrenched from a place of deep confusion. That's okay, she said, pulling me into a hug that smelled like her perfume and unconditional love. You don't have to know right now. But I know one thing. She pulled back to look me in the eye. Whoever you are, Leo or Luna, you're my child. And I love you. The next few days were a quiet revelation. Mom and I went shopping at a small, discreet boutique where the owner, a woman named Jules with kind eyes, simply smiled and said, "Let's find Luna's style." I learned about A-line skirts and wrap dresses that flattered my frame. I learned that I was not a boy in a costume. I was a person discovering their own skin. But the real world couldn't be kept at bay. Chloe, my sweet, unsuspecting Chloe, hadn't texted back after I'd sent a casual "hey." Her silence was a heavy weight in my pocket. And then she showed up, unannounced. I heard her cheerful voice at the door. "Hey, Helen. Is Leo around?" I was at the top of the stairs, dressed in a soft lavender top and jeans, my nails painted a matching pale lilac. I froze. "Chloe," Mom said, her tone carefully neutral. "Now isn't a great time. He's not feeling well." "Oh, I'll just pop up and see him," she insisted. "No," Mom said, her voice firm now. "He needs some space. He's figuring things out." The words hung in the air. Figuring things out. It was a warning and an admission. I heard Chloe's confused goodbye, and the click of the door felt like a gunshot. Later that night, she texted, "We need to talk. Boardwalk tomorrow. 4 p.m. I met her there, dressed as Luna, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. The salt spray, the cries of gulls, the rumble of the crowd, it all felt too loud, too exposed. She looked at me, her eyes wide with a pain that cut me deeper than any anger could have. "Who are you?" she whispered. We walked, and I told her everything. The guilt, the joy, the confusion. How Luna felt more real than Leo ever had. "So I've been dating a lie?" she asked, her voice cracking. "No. You were dating someone who was afraid to tell the truth." Just as a sliver of understanding seemed to dawn in her eyes, a voice shattered the moment. "No way. Tyler? Is that you, man?" It was Mark, a jock from our class. He swaggered closer, his eyes raking over me with disgust. "What the hell are you wearing?" "Dude, this is sick." "Back off, Mark," Chloe snapped. "Is this some kind of prank?" he jeered, his voice getting louder, drawing stares. "You're a freak, man. A total freak." The word hit me like a physical blow. Humiliation washed over me, hot and sickening. I turned and fled, ignoring Chloe's calls of "Leo, wait." I ran until my lungs burned, until I was just a blur of denim and lavender against the darkening sky. I got home to a silent house. I walked to my room, the sanctuary that had become a stage, and stared at my reflection. The makeup was smudged, the wig slightly askew. I was a mess. Then I heard a sound from downstairs. A sharp crack, like a rock hitting glass. My blood ran cold. I crept to the window and peered down at the front porch. Someone had been there. Spray-painted in jagged, angry red letters across our welcome mat were 2 words. "Freak. We know." I stumbled back from the window, my breath catching in my throat. This wasn't just a schoolyard taunt anymore. The whispers had followed me home. And they were no longer whispering. They were screaming. The red paint on the welcome mat felt like a wound on the skin of our home. Mom called the police, who came, took a report with practiced indifference, and left us with a pamphlet on hate crimes and a palpable sense of vulnerability. That night, I didn't sleep. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside my window, sounded like a threat. The joy of finding Luna was being systematically poisoned by the fear of what the world would do to her. The next morning, the fallout began in earnest. Mom's phone, usually buzzing with orders for her boutique and cheerful texts, was silent. An email arrived from the organizer of the local artisan market, politely informing her that her stall for the upcoming weekend had been reallocated due to community feedback. Cassandra's poison was fast-acting. I stayed in my room, cycling through shame, anger, and a bone-deep weariness. I was Luna, but Luna was a girl under siege. Around noon, the doorbell rang. My immediate reaction was to hide, but Mom, her jaw set with a new, steely resolve, went to answer it. It was Chloe. And her mother. My heart sank. Mrs. Davis had always looked at me with a polite, but cool, appraisal, as if I were a temporary distraction from Chloe's bright future. I braced myself for the final, devastating blow. "Luna," Mrs. Davis said, her voice tight. She didn't use my old name. Her eyes scanned me, taking in the pale pink pajama set and the remnants of yesterday's fear in my eyes. "Chloe told me everything. I'm not going to pretend I understand it." She took a deep breath. "But you don't deserve what's happening. No one does." Chloe stepped forward, her own eyes red-rimmed but clear. "The post is everywhere, Luna. Mark shared it, and Cassandra's friends are all over it. They're treating it like a big joke." "It's not a joke," I whispered, my voice hoarse. "I know," Chloe said, and for the first time, she reached out and took my hand, her grip firm. "And we're not going to let them win." That small act of defiance, Chloe's hand in mine, her mother's reluctant but real support, was the first flicker of light in a very dark tunnel. It didn't fix anything, but it meant I wasn't entirely alone. The next few days, we formed a small, unlikely war council in our living room. Chloe, armed with her laptop, became a digital warrior, reporting every hateful comment and sharing resources for LGBTQ+ support. Her mom, using her connections as a lawyer, drafted a cease and desist letter for Cassandra, citing harassment and defamation. Mom focused on securing our home, installing cameras and a better security system. And me? I felt like the quiet eye of the storm. They were all fighting for Luna. Now, Luna had to fight for herself. The idea came to me late one night, while scrolling through the hateful comments. They were using a distorted picture of me to tell a story of freakishness and deception. They had taken my image, so I had to take it back. I turned to Mom. "I need your help," I said. "I need the best camera you have. And the best dress in your shop." We set up in the living room, transforming it into a makeshift studio. I sat in a high-backed vintage chair, dressed in a stunning, deep emerald green velvet dress. Mom did my makeup, her hands steady and sure. Chloe helped with the lighting, creating a soft, warm glow. There was no hiding, no artifice. Just me. I looked directly into the camera lens and I started to talk. "My name is Leo," I began, my voice clear and strong. "For 18 years, that's who I've been to the world. And it's a part of my story. It's the foundation I was built on." I paused, taking a breath. But foundations are meant to be built upon. This summer, I've been getting to know another part of myself. A part that was always there, but was too afraid to be seen. I smiled, a small, genuine smile. Her name is Luna. She likes the color of lavender, the smell of old books, and the feel of velvet. She is quiet, and she is kind. She is also strong. Stronger than I ever knew. I looked down at my hands, then back at the camera. A photo of me has been passed around. It's being used to mock me, to shame me, to make me a monster. But I am not a monster. I'm just a person, trying to be honest. The people who are spreading this hate, they want me to be afraid. They want me to hide. And for a few days, I was terrified. But I won't hide anymore. My name is Luna. This is what I look like. This is my voice. And I'm not sorry for any of it. Mom stopped recording. The room was silent, thick with emotion. Chloe was openly crying. Mom hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. We posted the video that night. We didn't share it in the comment sections of the bullies. We just put it on my own, newly created Instagram page under the name Luna M and on Mom's boutique page. Then we waited. The response was slow at first, then it was a flood. Likes, hearts, and comments poured in. Not just from friends, but from strangers. People from our town and from far beyond it. "You are so brave. Thank you for sharing your story. You're not alone. This is what beauty looks like." The local news station picked it up. A journalist who specialized in human interest stories asked for an interview. The artisan market called Mom back, full of apologies, and offered her a featured spot. For every hateful comment that still trickled in, there were 100 messages of support. We had turned their megaphone of hate into a microphone for our own truth. Cassandra went silent. Her power, built on whispers and exclusion, shriveled in the face of such open authenticity. She couldn't fight a story that wasn't about her anymore. A week later, Chloe and I were walking on the boardwalk again. It was sunset, the sky painted in shades of orange and pink. I was wearing a simple sundress, my hair tied back, my hand held loosely in hers. It was different between us now. The frantic, possessive edge of high school romance was gone, replaced by a calmer, deeper affection. "So what's next for Luna?" she asked, smiling. "I'm not sure," I admitted. "I was thinking about art school. Maybe photography. I think I'm good at seeing things the way they really are." "I think you are too," she said. She stopped walking and turned to me. "I don't know what our future looks like, Luna. It's complicated. But I want to be in it. I want to get to know all of you." She leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't a tentative kiss on the cheek like before. It was a real kiss, full of uncertainty and hope and a promise to try. As we walked on, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The war wasn't completely over. There would always be stares. There would always be ignorance. But the battle inside me was. Leo wasn't gone. He was the quiet boy who had protected a secret for years. He was the foundation. But Luna was the house that was finally being built, room by room, filled with light and color, open for the world to see. And for the first time, she felt like she was home.